Hello, YouTube! I am Pinstar, and this is 2 Point Hospital Strategy and Tactics. So today we are going to talk about staffing. We touched on this briefly before in terms of keeping your staff happy and maximizing their use of time when they do go on break. But one of the other sort of design philosophies that I've found really useful in my hospitals is answering the question of how many staff do you hire and how do you organize them? How do you train them? That's our topic for today. So, as far as staff goes, and I'm just going to let this play here in the background, the way I calculate my staffing needs is based on, sort of a way of archetypes. Let's take a look at the staff that we have right now. So the way you want to organize your staff is you basically want to hyper specialize them in specific, in specific things. You want them to specialize in, oh, for Pete's sake, again. You want them to specialize in specific tasks. So for example, one archetype would be your doctors who are GPs. You want them to specialize in the general practice skill. Now, when you hire people, they come with a number of predetermined skills. Some of them are useful, some of them line right up. Others are what I like to call soft skills. They're not directly contradictory, they still work, but they're not necessarily the most ideal choice. So for example, the bedside manner here, it's a nice skill to have, especially for a GP, but would I train a person in bedside manner? No. But that I wouldn't disqualify them, especially given that the hiring pool is limited and only slowly refills over time. Your psychiatrists, you want to keep pure psychiatry skill. You'd also, another archetype for doctors would be your diagnostic doctor. These doctors, you're going to want to give the radiology skill and then follow that up with the vanilla diagnostic skill. You unfortunately, there's no additional radiology levels. It's just one level of radiology. But what it does do is it gives them skills in being able to work in additional areas. It gives you additional skill in the X-ray machine, for example. Now, how many of these different archetypes do we want? Well, generally what you want to shoot for is the number of rooms that employ those archetypes plus one. So we've got 2 GPs offices right now. So we've got 3 people employed as a GP. Now we do have 2 psychiatrists office, and we only have 2 psychiatrists that we need to hire. We need to train into psychiatry. That is one of our goals at the moment. We've got 1 X-ray machine room here. We have 1 person who's kitted out for it, and then we got a newbie here. The newbie could go to training for it or training for psychiatry. I'm kind of thinking we want to do psychiatry for the newbie. Even though he's presently working in the X-ray machine as a relief, but we're going to need another relief doctor. Let's take a look at the hiring pool, see if there's anybody good. All right, so see, we've got ourselves somebody here. Tony Wang would be an excellent secondary person for the X-ray machine because we can train them into radiology as with their open slot here, and they'd be a perfect fit, thus leaving our newbie doctor to be trained in psychiatry because there's no psychiatry people out there. Now, one other thing that you want to kind of keep an eye out for is what I call polluted traits. Polluted traits are when you have somebody who has skills that can never be used together. Somebody like Mark Lane here. Bedside manner, while a soft skill, I would not consider that pollution because, him having bedside manner while getting GP, they work together. Whereas if we take a look here at, say, Naughty Beast here, pharmacy management and diagnostics, these 2 will never, ever work together. Whenever he's in a room, he will either use one or the other, but not both, ever. So this is essentially a dead skill point for wherever you decide to put them, so don't hire them. Don't hire skill-polluted people. Just nix them. Mia Toff, great person. We've got a couple of new clinics here that require treatments from nurses. So, and you've already got pure treatment and an open slot. We can make that happen. Actually, if we scooch time up, get a new person. Warwick Toff, technically not polluted, but a lot of soft skills that we're not interested in here. And generally, I consider training masterclass not really that worth it, with an exception. I'll get to that in a moment. So those basically are, for the nurses, you basically have three archetypes. You've got your ward nurses, you've got your treatment nurses, and you've got your diagnostic nurses, which could work things like the fluid analyzer and what have you. And looking at what we have here, we've got a ward, and now essentially this ward employs 2 people, so you consider it as such. We only have 2 people specialized in the ward, but we've got a soft skill person with an open training slot, so we can turn Osmond Pleb here into our third backup ward person. We've got 3 people who are rocking the cure route. And as far as the cure route goes with pharmacy and injection, if they come with pharmacy and or injection, fine. I don't consider that polluted. But if I'm training them straight up, I'm going to just go straight treatment skill. And now let's see what we've got here. We've got a pharmacy and we've got 2 clinics. So we've got exactly as many treatment nurses as we need, which means we need 1 more of that archetype. And as your hospital grows and grows, having this extra +1 in your hospital is extremely useful for a number of reasons. 1, you get coverage when somebody goes on break. Obviously, the +1 can float in and swoop into there. Secondly, is when you need to pull somebody out and give them some training, as long as you're only pulling 1 member of that archetype out, technically you've got full coverage elsewhere, and you're not going to run into serious staffing problems just because you pulled somebody out to train. So that in of itself, especially combined with the longer breaks that the staff A brings with it, will enable you to keep your rooms fully staffed, fully occupied, and just working efficiently while still accomplishing your other goals of covering people while they go on break and covering people while they're in training. And yes, it does have some drawbacks in terms of the cost, but it's worth it. As you can see, we're making a pretty penny here, despite employing quite a few staff members at only a level 8 hospital here. So it works out well, and looks like we've got ourselves the need for an injection room. That's going to facilitate. So we're going to need 2 new curative treatment nurses. So we're definitely going to grab Mia Toff here. And pull her into the mix. We could technically get Warwick. I wonder if they're related, the Toff family. But again, a little bit too much pollution here. I might want to wait. And the same principle goes for janitors and assistants. If they're going to be working reception or in here, customer service. If they're going to work in your marketing, you want the marketing skill. I'm going to do a separate video on marketing, by the way. Just keep them nice and pure. Janitors are slightly different. There's a dichotomy with janitors. Basically, you want 1 janitor to have as much mechanic skill as possible, and they're your upgrader. Anything other than that mechanic skill on that 1 janitor is pollution. Now, for all of your other janitors, the mechanic skill is pollution. They are not going to be the ones upgrading anything, so you want to hire people who have things other than that. Soft skills are fine, and actually getting a variety. Ghost capture, plus the maintenance skill, plus soft skills like motivation. Motivation is awesome on janitors. You want to sort of kit them out. So there are 2 archetypes for janitors. Your machine upgrader and your not machine upgrader. So train accordingly. And with that being said, there's plenty of goodness that can be had in your hospital. Just always, a great habit is check your hiring staff every time the month rolls over and you get your profit and your losses for that particular month. Check every time that month rolls over. Check your assistants. Purge the polluted skills people, and like Cassandra Toole here, great curative person. Yeah, teaching masterclass not so much. But yeah, and as you can tell, I tend to like hiring outsiders for our training rather than training within, just because of how many people it occupies. So I hope you guys found these tips useful. If you guys like this episode and you want to see more like it, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and leave me a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Your feedback's always welcome. So until next time, this has been Pinstar, signing out. See ya!